What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, I am so excited because I get to talk about the Conan movies on 4K from Arrow Video. Look at these nice, big, chunky box editions. I am so excited to dive into these. We're going to talk about the movies. This is my first time watching both movies in their entirety. I remember kind of seen scenes and sequences of these movies on TV when I was a kid, but this is the first time I got a chance to sit down and watch the Arnold Conan movies on 4K. So I'm excited to talk about them. I'm excited to talk about the 4K restoration, the special features, which both of these releases are just loaded with special features. So there's a lot to dig into here. But look, before we get into it, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We talk about physical media on this channel, Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff there behind me every single day. So if you like that kind of thing, hit the subscribe button. Also like this video and then comment down below, guys, what do you think of the Conan movies? Which of these two is your favorites? Most people would say Barbarian, but is Destroyer your favorite? Let me know in that comment section below. And will you be picking these up? Because I will say, guys, these are limited edition exclusive Arrow Video box sets that I do not believe will be in stock for much longer. I think that these things are going to sell out very quickly. They're both available on Amazon right now for $30 a piece, or you can get the Conan Chronicles edition, which is about $44.99, which combines both of them in one box set if you want to get that one. So all these are available on Amazon right now. As of right now, I will link them down below in the description. And like I said, I'm not trying to push FOMO on anybody, but I believe that these box sets, these Conan 4K limited sets, not just the regular standard editions, you'll probably be able to get those for years to come, but these limited edition box sets, I don't think you're going to be able to get for much longer because these things are selling like hotcakes. And there was also some conflicting reports of when these are releasing. Right now on Blu-ray.com, they do have a release date of January the 30th, which is next Tuesday. I've also seen reports of February the 20th that they pushed some people's orders to February the 20th. So I'm not exactly sure like what's going on, but you'll get them. You'll get them by February 20th at least, hopefully. But I'm here for the early review today. So now that we got all that out of the way, let me talk about Conan, the Conan movies. I always try to figure out like how I want to talk about like multiple movies at the same time. And I don't want this video to be like 30 minutes long. So let me just talk about my experience watching both of these films. But I'll just say this right off the top. I enjoyed the hell out of both of these movies. And I had heard from some people before that Barbarian was great and Destroyer was not so great. And I would agree that it's definitely, Destroyer is definitely a step down, but it's not a drastic step down, at least for me personally. I enjoyed Destroyer a lot and I enjoyed Barbarian a lot. They're two different types of movies. They have different paces to them. They still feel like they operate within the same universe, but Barbarian is much more mature. It's rated R. There's nudity. There's tons of blood and gore and violence. I was really taken with just how gory and violent that first Conan the Barbarian movie is. Just the way they're like lopping heads off and decapitating people. It's insane in some parts, but great action, great performance by Arnold. This was his first big movie that they cast him in, and then that would lead to Terminator and Predator and all the other, and turn him into a megastar. But Conan the Barbarian was like the first big role for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's just got the swagger and he's got the charisma. He's way more stoic in Barbarian than I would say he is in Destroyer. Destroyer feels like he's more or less coming into his own as a character and kind of having some fun with it. But yeah, I enjoyed a lot of these movies. Barbarian, I would agree, is a better film than Destroyer, but I think that Destroyer is a lot of fun, and I actually think that Destroyer has a little bit of a faster pace to it and has some wilder things going on, some more fantastical things going on in Destroyer, which I think kind of, it takes it more into that like comic book territory, which is what these movies originate from in the first place. So I think it kind of, Destroyer is kind of in a way more true to the comics than Barbarian is. And they definitely had some more fun with the premise of that movie. And that movie's directed, Destroyer is directed by Richard Fleischer, and Barbarian is directed by John Milius. And he also wrote Apocalypse Now, and he directed Red Dawn a couple of years later. Both of these directors just do a great job of really just fleshing out the world of Conan Barbarian and just showing it on such a scale that feels very grand and very realistic, while at the same time being, you know, in that fantasy world, but it also feels very grounded and realistic to these characters in these situations. So I appreciated the directing of both. They both just feel epic in scale, and I think a lot of that has to do with the direction of both of these films. Now, as for which one that I like the most, I guess I would say that Barbarian is the better film, and I did enjoy that one more, but I feel like there's slower parts in Barbarian. It takes a little bit to ramp that movie up, and once it does get going, like, it really gets going, and it's awesome, and I love James Earl Jones in that film, like, as the villain. He is so good. I didn't even know James Earl Jones was in the movie before I started it, and then I saw his name on the title card. And of course, it was around the same time, you know, the Star Wars movies were going, so they cast him as the villain. He's got that iconic villainous voice from Darth Vader, and he carries that over into Conan the Barbarian. There's a scene where he just like straight up turns into a snake, and it's like so wild and out of left field, but it works in the movie. I don't know. I loved it. There's a lot of snake stuff in Conan the Barbarian. Like when he takes the bow and arrow and he like shoots a snake at one of the characters of the film. Not going to spoil who. It's just wild. But there's all that kind of stuff in the movie, and it's very gruesome and very gory, and it's very manly. It's men and women going around kicking ass and taking names, and there's a lot of really impressive action sequences, but the world building is what I am really impressed with. I didn't know how fantastical these movies actually were. I didn't know that until he met the witch at the beginning of Barbarian. I thought we were dealing with more of a straightforward sword and sandals, more realistic approach to this world. But once, you know, Arnold meets the witch and they get down in the tent and she like freaking shoots off into an electric lightning bolt, I was like, okay, so that's the kind of movie we're in store for here. And it's just a good story. It's a classic story of the kid that watches both of his parents get murdered by some villainous character, and then he grows up and seeks revenge on those people. There's no more classic like story than that, and it gets you invested right away. Right away, you are invested in Schwarzenegger as the hero, and you want to see him succeed. And I love the characters. I love the trio of characters in the movie. You know, the actress that plays Valeria, who is kind of his romantic interest, she is so badass and just awesome. She has such a great look in this movie. So yeah, I really enjoyed Barbarian, but Destroyer, I don't know who was saying this movie was bad. It's not bad at all. Now, I will say, watching it, it feels like if we're talking in Indiana Jones terms, like I would say Conan the Barbarian is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Conan the Destroyer is Temple of Doom. It just takes it in a more like wild, weird, fantastical direction. But I liked a lot of things about this movie. Like I said, it's more fantastical, it's more comic booky, it's more pulpy, and I think the reason why this one takes a little heat is because it's tamer, it's more mild than the first one, because it got that PG rating. Now, there's still blood, there's still a fair amount of blood and some good action in the movie, but it's not as brutal as the first one is. And there's no nudity, which there's a ton of nudity in the first one. So it just feels like a tamer, almost like Saturday morning, like cartoon version of the first film. I don't know which one. To be honest, like I'd say I like these pretty equally, even though I will admit that the first one is the better film. But let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on the 4K picture quality here. So both of these are native 4K restorations from the original camera negative. You got Dolby Vision, you got HDR10, and what can I say, guys? Arrow Video, at this point in time, they're just not missing. They are just doing banger 4K release after banger 4K release, and I knew from the second these were announced that Arrow Video was going to kill these restorations, because these are movies that really hang their hat on their impressive visuals, their sweeping landscapes and settings, and like I said, these movies are just so well directed, and the worlds are so well realized, and in 4K they just look incredible. You know, from the settings, the costumes, the character designs, like everything just looks incredible in 4K. The up-close facial shots of each character, just the blood, the gore, all that stuff looks fantastic with that HDR. And the 4K with that HDR and Dolby Vision just brings these worlds to life in a way that I imagine the Blu-ray and the DVDs just couldn't do. You are seeing these movies in an entirely different way watching these. The depth, the range of colors, the detail is just incredible across the board. Like, if you're a Conan fan and you bought these on VHS back in the day, DVD, Blu-ray, you're going to cry watching these on 4K because they look so good, and there is no need to ever buy any other version of Conan again after you watch these movies on 4K. Now, I will say Conan the Barbarian, and maybe it has to do with the movie being a little older than Destroyer, or maybe it didn't have the budget that Destroyer did, but there's some spots in this one. There's a few rough patches, some spots that you could tell just were not, they weren't able to fully restore. And I don't blame Arrow for that. That just has to do with the original materials. 90% of this movie looks phenomenal. Looks phenomenal on 4K. Just looks great. And the effects, like that big giant snake, like that could be looked at as really cheesy. But the effects make it look great. And in 4K, it looks great as well. So I think the effects in this movie hold up, and the 4K does it favors, where in some other movies, the 4K may not do the special effects, the older special effects, any favors. And I think that was done practically, so that's probably why. But Conan the Barbarian, a few rough spots, but I would say 90 to 95% of this is an immaculate 4K, whereas Destroyer across the board is just pristine and excellent, the entire viewing experience. Like, I'm thinking of the scene where Conan is fighting that red wizard in the glass room, and just the like up top visuals and just all around the room, the visuals of that room and the red cloak as all of the wizards are coming out and he's fighting them all, just looks outstanding. Like, all that stuff looks great with that HDR. So, and that's just, there's just great cinematography and visuals like all throughout this movie. It really goes for it. But at the end of the day, both of these are phenomenal 4Ks and a great start for the year for Arrow Video. People are going to be talking about these 4Ks, and I can guarantee you these will end up on best of 2024 lists at the end of the year. They are that good. So now getting into the sound here, the original mono is newly restored here, and they have also remixed a Dolby Atmos track for both of these releases and on all three cuts of Conan the Barbarian. So there is the theatrical cut, the extended cut, and I believe the international cut on Conan the Barbarian. All of them have new sound in Dolby Atmos. So sound-wise, everything sounded great. I actually listened to both of these with Dolby Atmos just to see how they sounded. And with that score, guys, the score is so epic, and the drum beats, like that was just giving my sound system a workout. And I don't have that full Atmos setup, but I got the sound bar that kind of simulates that Atmos, and I got the subwoofer, and it just sounded wonderful, spectacular. Like I said, epic. These movies are big and they're epic, and the sound just reflects that. And with that Dolby Atmos, it sounds wonderful. I imagine that most people that have those big setups are going to be very happy with the sound here. So getting into the packaging real quick, guys, I'll cut to a little bit of an unboxing. And I've already unboxed these on the channel before, but I love the original artwork on both of these posters, and I just think they look great, you know, on the actual like black cases, the black Arrow cases with the original logo on the side. You got a book, you got a big book with plenty of information on the making of this movie, the production of this movie, just notes and writings from all kinds of people that worked on this movie. And it's just great. So much in these books. You got a great poster, double-sided poster here with the original poster of Conan the Barbarian, and just an image of Arnold on the back. You got all kinds of art cards inside the case. You have 2 discs on Conan the Barbarian. You have the disc 1, which has all 3 cuts in 4K, and you have on disc 2 all of the special features, which we'll get into in a second. It's a ton of special features, guys. A ton of great special features. And getting into Destroyer, same thing. You got that classic Destroyer poster on there. Black background, black all around. The font for Conan the Destroyer. You got the booklet. You got the poster on the inside. Again, tons of great writings about the films in these booklets. Just great stuff, guys, from beginning to end. Poster, art cards, you got the disc, which you just get the one 4K disc with Conan the Destroyer with the special features on that 4K disc, because they didn't have to worry about putting all the cuts on that disc, so they just added in all the special features. Now, getting into the special features here, they are great on both of these releases. Now, I did not watch every single special feature on Conan the Barbarian because there are 10 brand new special features here. There's also an archival making of documentary. There's a bunch of other archival featurettes and stuff, and behind the scenes stuff, and still photos and trailers, and just tons of stuff. That special features disc in this is absolutely loaded. So this is the only Conan the Barbarian release that you will ever need in your entire life. Arrow Video spared no expense. They put everything into this release of Conan the Barbarian. And, you know, I'll talk about Destroyer here in a second. The special features are great in that as well, but it doesn't have as much as Barbarian. I would say that Barbarian on its own is maybe the most worth it 4K limited edition box set that has ever existed. And I know that's a little bit of a hyperbolic statement to make, but I don't think that I've ever seen a release that had 10 brand new features on it, and a new audio commentary as well, and a past commentary with the director John Milius, I think is how you pronounce it, sorry guys, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I listened to a little bit of that commentary, and it is so great from what I heard, because they start off with the director imitating Arnold, and Arnold is trying to imitate the director, but of course he has the Arnold accent, so it doesn't work. And it seems like it's a super fun commentary, and it's from the DVD back in 2000. So, but just great stuff on here, guys. There's an interview with Robert Eggers, which I really enjoyed and kind of forgot about, where he talks about how Conan the Barbarian inspired him making The Northman. And I watched The Northman, I think, last year, and you can totally see all of the influences from Conan the Barbarian in The Northman. I just thought that that was awesome. And there's just tons of great stuff. There's Conan the Barbarian historians talking about this movie and how it performed at the box office, just how big of a deal it was back in the day. And there's just tons of great features, guys, with the cast, with the crew, with the special effects artists, with the visual effects artists. Like, there's just so much in here that you can dive into, plus all of those archival materials as well. So just a great release by Arrow Video that they really just sunk their heart and soul into, it felt like. But Conan the Destroyer is no slouch either. There are 4 audio commentaries on this release, guys. So many audio commentaries here, and there are 5 brand new interviews in this one as well, and they are great interviews also, just talking about the movie, the legacy of the film, how, you know, they wanted this to be a trilogy. They wanted to do Conan the Conqueror, but then Red Sonja came out and it didn't perform as well at the box office, and they kind of abandoned the entire Conan universe after that. But I think this movie did pretty well at the box office. It just didn't do as good as Conan the Barbarian. So because of the diminishing returns, they didn't continue this franchise, which after watching both of these, like, and loving them as much as I did, like, I want more. Like, I want more Arnold Conan movies. I wish, because Oliver Stone wrote the first film, and he was talking about in the special features about how he thought of this franchise as like a James Bond. Like, they could have done 20 Conan movies, and I would have loved 5 good Conan movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s. That would have been absolutely fantastic, because there's so many different types of stories you can tell in this universe, and I think it would have been awesome. But great features, guys, top to bottom. Conan the Destroyer, Conan the Barbarian. I'm telling you right now, these are great, and they are so worth your money. Like, in the age where we are paying 25 to 30 bucks for new discs that don't have any special features, that have subpar 4K transfers, like, these are just the most worth your money of any releases on the market right now, in my opinion. And if you get that Conan Chronicles set, it's only 45 bucks right now. So I'm telling you guys, these are worth it. If you're a Conan fan, they're really worth it. But if you've never watched these movies before, I think you'll really enjoy them, and I definitely recommend them. So thank you all so much for watching my reviews of Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer. Definitely in the comment section below, let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, follow me on all my social media accounts down below in the description, and turn on bell notifications for all future videos, and we'll see you next time.